You say that for many Jewish students, there there almost that there's special pressures on campus. That there's there's a dangers of the risks of ostracism, the risks of being cast out of the moral community among 18 and 20-year-olds who are so concerned about idealism in all different kinds of ways. And of course, many Jewish students, I don't want to stereotype, but I'll just do a little bit. They tend to be on the left in my experience. And yet they're loving Israel, let's say, most of them, many of them, as part of their identity. And you describe in your book, there's this passage in your book that just made me think about some of those students who sat in my offices through the years, caring about Israel. And you describe how that they that they have to require they're almost required to internalize anti-Zionism if they want to remain part of the moral community. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, well, let's imagine what it's like to be in a department and you go to the department's website and the department says, we are formally opposed to the existence of the Jewish state, which we see as a racist and immoral entity. And you're getting your degree from that department. And you're working with the faculty members in that department who have signed on to that position. Well, you're Ruth amidst the alien corn. You are the department. And I don't think this works so much for graduates, for undergraduates, but for graduate students, the department is really the site of your professional aspirations. It's your future home, isn't it? As a professional in a career, and yet it's a poisoned home. It's a home that views you in some ways as a moral outlier, morally unacceptable. It's extremely painful. And then, God help you, if your graduate students have a union on campus, and if your graduate student union, which is supposed to represent you in grievance procedures, as this graduate union here at Illinois is supposed to do, and is also formally opposed to the existence of Israel, which is part of your identity. It's not your whole identity, but it's there. There's this phrase that the concept of the self-hating Jew, and I've never accepted it. But the only reason I've never accepted it is that I don't think the demand is that you be thoroughly self-hating. The demand is that you hate part of yourself and that you encapsulate and separate part of yourself, symbolically cast it out of you. And that's the part of you that identifies with Israel. But on the campus now, you can't do that once. If you do it this morning, maybe it will last you through the afternoon, but you have to do it again tomorrow or next week or next month. It's a demand that's made of Jewish students, staff, and faculty continually. You have to testify to your alienation from that central part of Jewish aspiration and identification over and over again for you to be accepted within the progressive community on campus. And it's very painful and it's destabilizing. You no longer have a sense of psychological safety. You know, campuses aren't supposed to provide you with intellectual safety. They're supposed to provide you with intellectual challenge.
I want to talk about intellectual safety in a moment. But may I quote
Yeah,
let me quote you on something on the point you were just making. You say that and I'm talking now about undergraduates, that experience, which is a special interest to me. You say, and I'll quote you, quote, for many Jewish students, internalizing anti-Zionism requires a disabling fracturing of their identity, close quote. Can you say a little bit more about that disabling fracturing of their identity? Disabling.
well, that's what I was just saying. It requires a rejection of part of yourself. And I think psychologically, I'm sort of using Jacques Derrida here, who, despite his misrepresentation, I remain very fond of. You encapsulate part you encapsulate a part of your psychology. That is, you build a kind of wall around that part of yourself, and you separate it from the rest of your self awareness. That's the To get to that anti-Zionism. If you love Israel or have some fundamental sense of its necessity in the world, and you have to reject it. What psychological processes do you have to go through to reach that equilibrium in yourself? And I think it's very difficult, and it is disabling, and it does require a separation or a fracturing. You have to split yourself into your professional identity, your social identity on campus, and a large part of you, the way you've grown up and your history. Um, I'm not an observant Jew, but it's part of my identity. My father founded two synagogues. I was president of two synagogues, and I taught Hebrew school for a couple of years. And it's just, it's part of a long part of my life. Um, I ain't about to give it up. I'm not going to go through that process of splitting and separation.